Thank you for joining us. You're listening to the St. John's Farmers Market Radio Almanac. This is a show about business and market culture in and around St. John's, Newfoundland. This program is produced and recorded at CHMR FM 93.5 FM in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, and is aired on other great stations in the province and elsewhere in the country. It can also be heard online at www.chmr.ca. I'm your host, Matthew Ledrew, owner and operator at Engine Books, the province's fastest growing independent publisher of books. Thank you for joining us on this wonderful day for a very special episode of the St. John's Farmers Market Radio Almanac. Every so often, we ask the vendors we have on a variety of very, very silly questions. And sometimes we compile them together into a collection of those very silly questions. This is one such episode when a host of vendors and people who work at the market will be answering the question: if you were stranded on a desert island forever, what three books or movies or pieces of media would you want with you? Would you be able to watch again and again and not be able to live without? And we have a host of wonderful vendors on to answer that question and get to know them a little better. All right, so the first one is Pam. If you were trapped on a desert island, what three books or movies would you want with you?
Oh, Matthew.
Yep.
Okay, let me think. Because I'm really bad with like titles and stuff, so I'm going to try to answer this as best I can.
Okay.
The best three movies that I would like to have with me, Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Okay. Interesting.
Because it would make me just giggle with delight every single time.
I've never seen it.
What?
I know.
Oh, my goodness. We have to have a Rocky Horror Picture Show watching party then.
Okay. When the pandemic's over, absolutely.
Halloween.
All right.
I'm going to use two other trilogies, maybe.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Okay.
Even though that's three movies and not one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Something really old, I would suspect. I like super old movies.
Oh,
so, yeah, anything with Peter Lorre in it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm good to go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll put that down.
No. I have one. I have one because I want people to know this one.
Okay.
There's this really older movie, not old, but it's like from the 80s. And it's not in English.
Okay.
It's called Spoorloos, Spoorloos. It is either, I want to say, Norwegian or Swedish or something like that. It is available fully on YouTube, so you can watch it. It is also the most atmospheric, creepy movie. No jump starts, no gore, no nothing like that. But it is such a awesome movie to mess with your mind. There were American remakes done of it called The Vanishing, which people may or may not have seen, but this is the original, and it is magnitudes better than the remake. So yeah, go watch it because you can find it for free too.
All right, I sure will. Thank you much, Pam. Next up, we have Aurora from FAZ Reviews. If you, Aurora, were going to be trapped on a desert island for the rest of your life and you could only take three books or movies with you, what three would you want?
Probably I would take the movie. I don't really know many names of books or stuff.
Yep.
But probably I would take a movie of How to Train Your Dragon.
Okay, How to Train Your Dragon.
And then I would basically just take all three How to Train Your Dragons because I'm obsessed.
Okay, but not Encanto?
Maybe Ice Age.
Okay, maybe Ice Age too. Okay.
I don't know.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Aurora. Next up, we have Travis. Travis House of Houseless Poetry, who can normally be found at the farmers market and will again soon. His two books of poetry, All I Brought Back and Peace Be the Journey, are available online now in the meantime.
Travis, if you were trapped on a desert island and could only take 3 books or movies with you to keep you company for the rest of time, what would they be?
Dharma Bums, Jack Kerouac. They'd all be books, by the way. Dharma Bums, Kerouac. I'd probably take Hatchet, my favorite childhood book of all time.
Okay.
And let's see, Dharma Bums and the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying.
Okay. All right. No one ever thinks about practical things. Like, you got to take The Stand by Stephen King because it's a lot of pages and you'll need to burn them to stay alive.
Right. Of course.
Yeah.
I'm the desert island is kind of a problem. There is no birch bark to really get your fire going. Hey.
Yep. It's a problem.
Thank you for that, Travis. Now we'd love to hear from one of the community tables that we have at the market. We have Sarah Donnelly Harnum, Midwife, on the line. Sarah Donnelly Harnum, Midwife, if you were going to be trapped forever alone on a desert island, what 3 books or movies would you want with you? Assume that you could play the movies. Like, there's that leap in logic where, like, why would I bring movies? I can't watch them. Just assume that you'll be able to play the movies.
Would it be 3 of each or 3 in total?
Either way, I'm fine with someone choosing 3 of each. That's more material.
Well, for books, I would say The Last Battle by C.S. Lewis.
Okay, yeah.
Jane Eyre.
Okay.
By Charlotte Bronte. And I'm looking at my favorite bookcase here. My mom would want me to say the Bible. So I'll say the Bible for my mom.
Okay. All right. Sounds wonderful. Did you have different film choices?
Films that I like, I tend to like movies where they get together in the end.
Okay.
So I'll say A Room with a View.
Nice.
Warm Bodies.
Oh, okay. Interesting choice. I like it.
Yeah. And what else could I watch over and over again? The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Oh, yeah. So I'm sensing a C.S. Lewis vibe. I'm sensing that was the only commonality.
I love C.S. Lewis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love C.S. Lewis. I have a quote from The Last Battle that I want to use at my funeral.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Or as I like to call it, my funeral, because it will be fun.
Okay. All right. C.S. Lewis is so like that's the vibe that I get from like the thought of midwifery is, now that you mention it, is very similar to the vibe that I get from C.S. Lewis. It's so comforting. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, C.S. Lewis is the warm bath of the fantasy genre. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I really like Till We Have Faces, but my mom's like, I don't get that book.
Okay.
It's a good book. I really like it. It's sort of very different from the Narnia Chronicles, but it's definitely worth the read.
Okay. I like it. I like it a lot. Thank you so much. That is lovely. Next on the line, we have the fabulous people from over at Cheerio Creations.
Janine, if you were trapped on a desert island for the rest of your life, what 3 books or movies would you want with you?
Well, movies. Okay, so this is totally up. I love Reservoir Dogs. Love it.
Right.
I'm a little bit of books. I actually like the Anne Rice books, the Vampire Chronicles and the Witching Hour. I actually really enjoyed them. I've read them numerous times. I don't know, just something about them that I can go back and read them. let me see. Another movie that we really liked. I've watched Beaches.
Okay. All right. Can I ask you a question about the Anne Rice stuff?
Sure.
Okay, so I read them for the first time last year. My first book last year was Interview with a Vampire, and it blew me away. I'd long loved the movies and stuff like that, or the first movie and stuff like that, and was like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, and it's
I didn't like the movie.
I liked the first one, but yeah, and I think I just watched it at the right age. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, so read it, loved a lot of the themes, loved the subtext, all wonderful. Picked up the second one. I have never been so like just this big boo drop in like how much I liked something to dislike something from a first one to a second one. Yeah. Is that trend going to continue, or should I pick up the third one? Because right now I'm like, nah, I'm good, Anne.
I prefer the Witching Hour Chronicles over a lot of the vampire ones. I can't remember if it's the third. I'm thinking of the colors versus the names of the books. I can't think of them offhand.
Keep talking for 1 second.
Yeah. I think it was I can't remember. There is the Vampire Lestat was pretty good. I enjoy that book. Yeah.
Gotcha.
There's a couple books that hit and miss. Like some books I kind of just read it to finish it, but there's like one or two in that series that I was like, okay, I really liked it. Now, The Witching Hour, loved them all. Every one of them, loved them all.
Yeah. What got me started there, I was on my to be read list, and then I randomly in books at a yard sale discovered a absolutely pristine hardcover first edition of
oh nice, yeah,
the vampires. I was like, all right, well, I gotta read that now. That's just gotta happen now. Wonderful, good stuff.
Thank you very much. Next up to answer this very odd question, we have Sasha from Culturisto Alternative Market. Sasha, if you were going to be trapped on a desert island for the rest of your life, what 3 books or movies would you want with you? And assume with the movies that there's some kind of magical TV that would play them. Don't get into that in your head. You know what I mean? So what 3 pieces of entertainment would you want if you could only watch those 3 things for the rest of your life?
Oh my goodness. Well, my 2 favorite movies of all time is Nightmare Before Christmas and Corpse Bride.
Okay.
That's a given. Yep. And as far as books goes, I loved this book from when I was in high school, and I reread it a few times. Actually, The Kite Runner. I love that book. Yeah. It's one of my favorite books of all time. I know it's there's like a lot of happiness but a lot of sadness in that book, but I just thought it was just such a great book. But yeah, if we're saying 3, those would probably be the 3 off the top of my head that I would be okay with. That's constantly rewatching and constantly rereading. So
one of my favorite movies might be but it's been a few years since I've seen it. I might need to watch it again, but it's the same vibe as your 2. It's Edward Scissorhands. That's like my jam. Yeah. Wonderful, perfect. Okay. I'm sensing a vibe here. We've got some Beetlejuice. We've got some Edward Scissorhands, some Nightmare Before Christmas. There seems to be a certain vibe with the creatives and the independent business owners in this province. Let's see if that continues with Carla McIsaac of Little HK Bakery.
Carla McIsaac, if you were trapped on a desert island, what 3 books or movies would you want with you?
3 movies or books. Okay, so the movie Big. I love the movie Big. I know it's, youthful and campy and everything, but I love that movie. I have read the Harry Potter books. I would venture to say 10 times, maybe a dozen times. I would take those. But I have to take all of them. I can't just take one. I have to take them all. Is that
one omnibus?
Allowed?
Yep, sure.
Okay. And what other movie would I watch or book? Oh, this is a tricky one because there's so many. What do I read over and over again? Or what do I watch over and over again? Oh, Sound of Music.
Sound of Music? Oh, okay.
Yes, I've been watching The Sound of Music since I was maybe 7 or 8. And it always comes on around my birthday. And so that's what I do for my birthday.
You know, I used to watch it a lot as well. I used to, I'd say when I was young, when before the days of streaming, I'd venture I probably watched it at least once a month in my youth. I loved it. But I only learned very recently, like one of those today I learned something everyone should probably know moments, but I only recently learned that it was based on a true story.
Yeah, and I heard Maria was a really horrid person in real life.
I didn't hear about that, but basically I always assumed that the ending of it was bittersweet because I mean they're escaping pre-World War II Nazi Germany by going into Poland around 1938. And I'm like, yeah, that's not a good plan. They might be there before you know it. Like I assumed that like it ends on this like hopeful moment of them going into the hills, but like that they would soon be dead because they're escaping the Nazis by going into Poland. But no, they were fine. They did in fact escape and were fine. But I assumed it was an ambiguous ending where it's like we're choosing to end it here.
That's why when you watch a movie, you don't listen to all the other stuff because then it just ruins it for you. That's why I've never seen the Harry Potter movies, is because I have the place and the people in my head, and that's how they are.
Yep, that's fair. That's very fair. Wonderbar, wonderful.
Bit of deviation there. Okay, we're getting some variety. That's good. Thank you to Carla from Little HK Bakery. Next up, we have on Theresa Murphy from Hibernating Fox Studios. Let's see how this goes. Theresa Murphy, if you were trapped on a desert island forever, you were going to be there for the rest of time, and you could only take 3 books or movies with you if you're not a what 3 would they be? With the movies, we're assuming that there's some kind of magical device where you could watch these 3 movies till the end of time or something like that, you know.
Yeah. Oof. I feel like my interest in movies and books is divided between the time before university and the time after. Because if we go by the movie I have watched the most, there would be at least 2 Disney movies in the top 3. But to this day, I don't know if they would be ones I would want to watch over and over. The movies I like the most aren't any super cool underground movies. They're very much like, these were big hit movies.
That's what guilty pleasure movies are, honestly.
So I would probably say The Matrix would be one of them.
Okay.
And guilty pleasure. So I had so much shame in liking this as when it came out, which was like 99, because it seemed very like techno bro kind of action movie. But then I later learned the Wachowskis are now sisters, which just made it so rad. Like I'm like, yeah, I like that movie.
Oh yeah, no, and it's all in there if you go back and watch it. There's a lot of those themes in there. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So I stand by that.
yeah, no, hardcore. It's just such a it wasn't I love the Matrix, but it was a very like what? Like, oh my god, it's been so long since I thought of the Matrix.
Yeah. But yeah, I watched that like dozens of times for sure. And another one from around that time I really enjoyed was Moulin Rouge. That's a good one. We had the soundtrack for that. So mom, my sister, and I would have that in the car whenever we were like carpooling or going to school or going to piano class. We would be singing the soundtrack.
I have yet to sit through that once, and I feel like I should try because I tried watching it when I came out, and I was very what you would expect me to be in 1999 to 2000, and Baz Luhrmann just went right over my head. I was like, what are they doing? Like this kind of hyper real unreality. I was like, I love his
the
other
first
movies.
the first 30 minutes at least, I was looking at my mom and my sister like, what are you making me watch? Like, but once you're, like you said, you accept kind of the unreality of it, it's good.
Yeah.
For
and he does not ease you into that unreality.
No.
Yeah.
And also my mom's family going back is French, so there's just that whole time for it too. As much as the characters themselves were not French in Moulin Rouge. For books, one I've read in the last like 5 years I really liked was Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. That was a good one.
Yeah, I like Neil.
Yeah, I just really like how he described this fantastical world in so rooted in reality that you really believed like what the character was going through.
That's his bread and butter. Like, I will make you believe that this unbelievable thing is believable.
Yeah, and that gets us to 3. But another one of my favorite books of the last 5 years that I'm anxiously awaiting the sequel to, is Laura Lana Dunn with Ashes. That was a great read for sure.
It is an amazing book. Thank you so much for mentioning it. Yes, absolutely. Beautiful stuff. Have you seen the new Matrix movie?
I haven't. No.
I am borderline interested in it because, like, from what I understand, it's very whichever Wachowski takes, only one of them came back. Basically, the studio was going to make another Matrix movie. Like, it was just going to happen with or without her. And she did not want to make another Matrix movie. And they were like, well, it's going to happen with or without you. So rather than have her stuff spoiled, she was like, fine, I will make another Matrix movie. And ended up making like a postmodern Matrix movie where like it starts off in the real world with like Keanu Reeves, and they have made the Matrix, but it turns out the Matrix is a simulation within the because a movie is a simulation. You know what I mean? Like, and it goes like that. I kind of want to try it just because I'm like, sounds that's a certain type of movie. I also like there's a part of me that's a creator that loves when a studio tries to make an artist do something and they say, okay, I'll make it if you sign this thing saying I have complete creative control. You do? Okay, excellent. You're not going to like what you get. I'm going to waste $350 million making something you absolutely do not want. It's the Freddy Got Fingered of giant movie franchises. It's amazing. Okay.
We can all aspire to become the creative that is given free license and an unsigned check and just make whatever you want.
Okay, but I aspire to be the creative who is either financially secure enough or like emotionally secure enough to go like, you know what, I'm gonna purposely do something you won't like. It's not even like I'm gonna do what I want. I'm gonna do something malicious. You know what I mean? It is destruction of property on a giant scale, and I'm here for it.
I just think like the gatekeepers of say like the film industry or even like the larger book industry, like the types of things that not only would appeal to those gatekeepers, but what those gatekeepers think would appeal to who they think their mass demographics are. That's kind of an average of who the demographic is. There was this one creator I read about the other day, and he sent an anonymous email to all the I believe film knew, and he said, of all the scripts you've received, what are the 5 that haven't gone anywhere? But what he did is he sent out anonymous emails to all these people in the film industry he knew, and he was like, I know you read hundreds of scripts a year, and tell me the 5 that you love the most? Not the ones that went on to be approved, not the ones that you recommended. What are the 5 that you thought were great stories you thought should be made? And then he collected all these and then sent those out as a giant list, and a lot of them have ended up being made and won like Sundance Awards and gone on to be like Slumdog Millionaire and some of these other big. So there are movies that kind of don't fit the script of what we think of as being would be successful or popular, because they told a different story from a different perspective, but actually ended up being things that people wanted to see and hear.
I feel like there's a self-fulfilling as someone who's like on a very small level on the inside of that, I try to get across to people that what the marketing tells you will sell is like for those big ones, they're like, okay, well, we need a science fiction blockbuster, we need a new Avengers movie, and this or that. Not that I just like the Avengers, it's my guilty pleasure, but like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like if you tell yourself that this science fiction thing is going to sell, or this horror thing is going to sell, or whatever, then that's what you sink the marketing money into, and that's what you spend the market research figuring out how to market, and you do that big push, and as a result, that makes all the money. If you spent the time and energy and devotion into like the man hours into figuring out how to market this little indie drama, it would also make a ton of money. Like you know what I mean? Like there's a certain level of like, you have educated the public already that they like science fiction, fantasy, and horror, or whatever the big ones are. You know what I mean? If you took the time to educate the population that they like other things too, or how they like them, or what those things have to offer, those things would do well too. But they don't want to take the risk on that because you know what I mean? It's become a thing, and you can tell because every so often something will slip through the cracks. You know what I mean? Every so often there'll be a shocking surprise hit, or one of those big 3 genres that I mentioned will go through a downslope. Like there was definitely a period where horror wasn't making big dollars. It still doesn't, I think, of the 3 kind of thing, because of the R rating that has to go on it. But like it has that kind of like, okay, well, that's the one we'll sink the least amount of money into kind of thing. But every so often something will like just skyrocket and take off and hit big. Same with fantasy. It's weird to think that at the time Lord of the Rings, the movies were made, he had to fight to get 3 movies. Whereas now it's like, let's split up everything into multiple movies. You know what I mean? We've got 1 issue of a comic book. Can we make a trilogy out of it? Like all right, we have time for one more. Let's check out Bronwynne Bridges' photography. Bronwynne, what about you?
Bronwynne, if you were going to be trapped on a desert island for the rest of your life, what 3 books, movies, or TV seasons would you want with you? Assume you're running on the assumption that a television, like or entertainment device, would continue to function. Like that, there's a magical element here where it's like, oh, this TV will keep functioning. Sure, you know what I mean?
Right. So movies, books, and TVs.
Either or one of each, or whatever.
Okay. Well, I have an obsession with books. I am a slow reader, but I have this problem where I just get 3 million books and think that I can totally read them all in like a month. So I would definitely be taking some books. Currently reading Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. Loving that.
She's amazing.
Yeah. And so probably a stack of hers, because I went and bought almost all of them.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. Colleen is wonderful, and I adore that she's an indie author like me, like a lot of local authors are, who kind of was like, no, if I'm popular enough, the big venues like the Chapters, the Coles, all of will have to list me, kind of thing. And it's true. Yeah, wonderful.
All right, well, thank you all for listening, and thank you, Bronwynne, and all the other fine vendors for coming on and answering this very silly question and helping us get to know you better. These vendors that were featured and all other vendors are available every Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the St. John's Farmers Market, as well as most Sundays and Wednesdays at the Hump Day Market. Please come by, show your love, and support local.